Well, bizarrely it's come to this, because once again Theresa May has come out and said, there isn't a magic money tree, but let me just see what's at the bottom of my garden, shall we? Now, what am I talking about? Well, Theresa May has decided that she's going to go and try to bribe Labour MPs whose areas voted to leave, but who have been, as we've already discussed this week, all these areas have been the most affected by austerity. The same plans that Theresa May supported and pushed through. She's now going to try and bribe these Labour MPs with a cash payment after constantly telling the British public and people like Jeremy Corbyn that there is no such thing as a magic money tree, that we don't have the money to spend on the North. We're sorry, so we're going to have to take more from you. And oh, sorry, we're just going to have to take a little bit more from you. Oh, sorry, you've got a bit more money spare, you said. Oh, we'll just have to take that from you as well. That is the situation we are in. She's having to bribe, literally bribe, MPs by saying, I will give your area X amount of money. Now, any Labour MP that is dumb enough to accept this is a complete idiot, because this isn't this isn't going to be a continuous payment. This is just going to be a one-off bribe. She gets a deal through and then that's it. Nothing more after that. So any Labour MP that is foolish enough to think to take this is a complete idiot. But this also goes to show another thing. We were told by David Cameron and Theresa May and many other Tories, particularly people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, that we had no choice but to do austerity. Austerity was the only way we were going to get Britain out of recession, out of this crisis. But now, Theresa May has just shown that austerity was always a choice. That it was a choice used by the right wing of this country to inflict immeasurable harm on the poorest and most vulnerable in our society. And we know for a fact that this austerity programme that was championed by lots of Tories has killed people. So remember that. This government has killed people by choice to deprive them of, care and attention that they need. Child poverty has risen dramatically under this government. Homelessness has skyrocketed. Because this Tory government has decided that we shouldn't take care of the most poorest in our society, which is completely against what we stand for in this country. This country should always be about taking care of the people who don't have the needs and necessary to get them out. Think of what the NHS, the founding message of the NHS was. Go look it up and think about the ethos of that time and what was going on at that time. We had nothing. We were coming out of a war. And yet we decided to set up a national health service. And now you have the Tories who, post-Brexit, are just going to sell it off piecemeal. And before anyone says, oh, but Tony Blair did it as well, bear in mind that the Conservatives changed the contracts to force, that one time the NHS could dictate the terms of the contract and make companies deliver on what they promised. The Conservatives changed the contracts to put more power in the companies in the NHS. So these companies could spend, a couple of million and not fully deliver on their promises or not fully deliver on their services that they promised to the NHS. You know, this is the situation we're in. It's completely ridiculous. It's absolutely insane, and especially for her to come out and say, "Oh, we'll give all these areas as money if you vote for my deal," is ludicrous. I cannot believe it. And many people, you know, I've seen people come to my channel and say that, you know, austerity was the only way we could get out of it. But how do you explain that statement when Theresa May is willing to throw money at these poor areas now just because she needs the MP's vote? But there you go. And this is one of the things that we were saying during the Remain campaign was, do you really want to give these people more power? Because we've already said numerous times on this channel, we've even gone over, they want to get rid of minimum wage, they want to get rid of workers' rights, you know, all this stuff that benefits people of this country. In fact, the BBC recently did a thing about ASOS and about how 0-hour contracts were really bad. And we know they're really bad because we've seen the effect on people and what it has on people's well-being. The fact that they can't get, you know, full-time work, and, you know, they have to then rely on benefits to be able to top them up. And yet, the government, Theresa May has said, "Oh, we'll do something about 0-hour contracts." What have they done about 0-hour contracts? Nothing. You know, so saying that this government is somehow going to take care of the needs of the people who really need it in this society, you know, after post-Brexit, they're not. And I keep on saying this time and time and time again. The only institution that has invested in these areas that voted to leave was the EU. And that funding is now gone. So, you know, what more can you say but that, you know?